Today we're going to show you just how easy it is to build a full stack AI app.
Thank you for having me, David. I really appreciate it. I would say, depending on where you are in terms of your technical knowledge expertise, I think each tool can help differently. For example, I've seen people use V0 simply for front end, but a quick tip that I would give people is, let's say I really like this nav bar. I take a screenshot of it and I'm going to prompt V0, build this nav bar similar to the image. And basically what a lot of people will do this, I think this is common knowledge for most people, they'll do this and then they'll get an output. And one thing I've realized is the first output is always the most terrible. But the thing is, the way these AI models work, because they work, and you know this and you talk about this a lot on your channel, because context is king, the one thing I've seen is when you continue to remind it to reference the image, the output starts to get better. So for example, what it gave me now and this screenshot, completely two different things. So what I'm going to say is,
by the way, if you want to make money with AI agents, then pay attention. Because I've designed a workshop that will help you launch your AI startup and scale it to $10,000 a month. Plus, if you join in October, you will get the anti-stuck checklist as a bonus, which will solve you any problem in 4 easy steps. And the best part is that you can complete this workshop with zero coding experience in just 30 minutes a day. So click the link below and start making money with AI agents.
it looks nothing like the image. Please reference the image and make it look similar.
Because now it already has written some code, right? So now we can focus on actually the details.
Yeah, and I really think about like these AI models like a very excited junior developer, right? A junior developer doesn't know exactly what to do, but they're hungry enough, and if you give them enough information, they'll make something happen, right? So you could see that compared to what it was, it try to add this white line. You can see the buttons now. You see you have login and sign up, and I could keep going and going and going. And I know people don't want to watch me do UI here, but 8 prompts in, I can get something very similar to what Linear has made. So that's just a quick V0 tip that I've noticed. So if you want to develop, a really good looking site and you see some inspiration, you can use V0 to get pretty close. But again, you'd probably take 5 or 6 prompts to do so. So that's point number 1 with V0. Bolt is really exciting. There's 2 phases of Bolt. Bolt can be great for technical people to prototype, but it can also be great for non-technical people to build and deploy. Now, because it's a new product, there are some bugs. I would highly suggest maybe following them on Twitter and giving them feedback and letting them know what issues they have. And if you're someone who's non-technical, this is part of the game. It's not easy, but like David preaches on his channel, what a time to be alive. You can sincerely build things if you have the grit, but the grit's not free.
Maybe let's start by explaining like why they should care about these tools, right? Because the average person probably didn't even use V0 or Bolt. So V0, that's for UI only, right?
Yeah, so I can maybe draw a diagram because diagrams make you look smarter. But so the one thing I would say is like these tools don't replace the engineer, right? So if this is, let's say, an engineer, right? And it takes an engineer a certain amount of time to ship a product, right? Let's say this circle is the engineer shipping. What these AI tools do is they shorten the distance for you to ship. Now, it doesn't change the fact that you have to have an engineering mind. You have to have a developer mind. And the way you develop that is by constantly trying to use these tools, see the way they work, develop with them. And I'll say this now, the first few, especially if you're non-technical, the first few things you build will be absolutely garbage. But that's okay. That's part of the game. And this is why if you're someone with ambition, you have an idea, I don't really preach the fact that, you can build Facebook tomorrow. I would never say that because it's really, really difficult to build those things. But as the models, as the tools grow, if you grow with it, when we get to the time where the tools are so good that from idea to shipping, it does it, you will have been prepared enough, you will have been trained enough to know exactly how these tools work. Because even if they get really, really good, believe it or not, you're still going to need to have a developer mind.
I feel like every week we're closer to that, which you just described, where you type in English prompt, literally 1 sentence, 2 sentences, and in 30 seconds, you see a fully deployed app that looks amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, just look at the progress of just the models, right? I remember when GPT-2 came out, GPT-3 came out, and we're like, what the heck? You can talk to this thing, and it actually responds like a human. And now, it has reasoning and all that stuff. So there's no reason why we shouldn't think these things get better. But why don't we just get straight to building?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so I'm going to use Bolt. It's new, it's buggy. I didn't plan to build any specific project. I just told David, listen, I know Fal. I use Fal for like different projects, and we're going to use Bolt, and let's see how far we can go. So if you go on Fal, what I like about Fal, it's like a wrapper of all these different image media models. So you can do image to image, you could do text to image, you could do text to video.
So similar to Replicate.
I've never used Replicate. I'm more of a Fal .ai guy,
Oh, yeah,
but
it's basically very similar. It lists out a lot of models that can do different things.
and again, this is in and of itself something easy for me as a developer versus hosting the model on a machine and then creating an API layer. This just makes
Yeah.
life easier. Now imagine when these companies integrate with companies like Bolt and you just
Oh, it's gonna be crazy.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you learn now, you have the advantage over the people who are trying to learn later. So learn now.
Okay, let's do image to image.
Okay, let's do image to image. Which one? Upscale. How about this one? This
Yeah,
one looks
let's
nice.
do upscale.
So let's run this. And
So
before
that already could be an app, right? Either web app or mobile app. So, somebody takes a blurry photo or takes an old photo, let's say from 10 years ago, and wants to upscale it. A lot of people don't know how to do that. So putting that behind the easy UI, there's already a product.
and the thing is, like, I saw this one tweet where someone was like we might enter an era of personal apps. Like, let's say you do find an app that does this and it costs like, I don't know, 20, $30. And you're like, well, I can use Bolt. I know an API for this. I can build this one for myself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, nowadays, like, and we see this in our generation with the social media, if you can go viral, if you know how to market, then you don't even have to have the most unique product. You just have to have a product that everybody already uses, but you market it better. Let's go over to Bolt and let's build this application. So I'm going to prompt Bolt to use Next.js because I'm very familiar with Next.js and I'm a fan
Okay.
of the framework. So I'll say, let's build a Next.js image upscaler. I want to be able to upload an image and then use fal.ai to upscale the image. So I'm just going to enter this prompt. And one thing that I would say is whenever, and this goes back to the engineering mind, whenever you're about to develop a project, even if you're a non-technical person, think of the flow. Let's say step one, someone goes on your website, on your site. All right, so let's say that's step one, right? Let me just move this right here. And then what's step two? Okay, step two is they can upload an image,
Yeah.
right? And then step three, you can imagine that the AI model changes stuff with image. I don't know exactly what it does, but I just know it makes it look better. And here's a crazy fact. Even myself as a developer, I don't know how it works. I just know it works. And then four, it shows me the image. And the
Yeah,
reason
you don't
why,
have to know all the details to make the app. Like that's, I think, a limiting belief that holds people back.
listen, I work for a corporation, and I've contributed a lot to that corporation as a developer. There's a lot of things I don't know, right? In terms of like minute details, right? So it's okay to not know exactly how the AI models work. You can for funsies, but in terms of building an application, you don't. But what you have to sort of plan ahead of time, and this is what it means to think like a developer, is what does the flow look like? And the reason why knowing the flow helps is it helps with your prompting, right?
Yeah.
And that's why my very first prompt was telling it that I wanted to build an image upscaler. I want people to be able to upload an image and use file.ai to upscale the image. So let's look at what Bolt did. Bolt created the files, package.json. It created the home page, added a component, added a layout. Awesome. So let's see if I can just upload a random image. If I click upscale, obviously it's not going to work because I have not even given it the code to do so. So here's the one thing I like about Bolt, especially for my developers, is it gives you, like, you see the code base, it gives you the file structure. Versus V0 puts everything in one component, right? So
Yeah.
this is where it's cool. Now, so I have my uploading, but obviously I don't have my upscaling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a file, and I see this API here. And what I'm going to do is it's giving me instructions here. It says the client provides a convenient way to interact with the model API. I need to install this. So I'm just going to copy this here, go back to Bolt. Now, for someone who's like, what is this? What are you doing? High level, I'm installing an external package. So basically, Fal has some pre-written code that they want to integrate with my code for it to work. And instead of writing everything from scratch, there are package managers like npm that I can use to install this. I'm just going to copy this, go to my terminal, paste it here, hit enter. I install that package.
But
And then
essentially, at the end of the day, you're following the instructions from the documentation, right? So
exactly. I don't even know what exactly is in this package, right? But this is a reputable company. Thousands of people use this, and all I know is I need this package to make it work.
yeah,
Like you said, I'm following instructions, and that's reflective of how good your models respond to you. The better instructions you give them, the
yeah,
better
for sure.
outputs they'll give you. And in the same way as a developer, when you're good at following instructions, you tend to perform well. So it's telling me that I need an API key. So I'm going to go to where's Bolt? I'm going to go to Bolt, and I'm going to see if it made a .env file. It didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to literally where it's a set file key as an environment variable in your runtime. I'm going to copy this. I know where the file's supposed to be, but I just want Bolt to do it for me. And I'm going to hit enter. And let's see what Bolt does. So it's going to help me set up the file. Now I will say one thing about Bolt, again, because it's very new, it can be a little bit slow sometimes, but over time it should keep getting better. So it's telling me here it added the following line in the .env.local file. So if I go to code, I'm going to see where is the .env.local. Wait, let me refresh maybe.
I don't think it created the file. It says created.
Oh, it says create. Okay, so I'm going to say you create the .env. Why are you telling me what to do? .env.local file. But honestly, in all honesty, I'm very nice to my AI just in case, they take over and they remember all the nasty things we said to them. So, okay.
Oh, there it is.
Yep, it created the .env file, updated the git ignore, which is great. Now, if you're a developer watching this, you're going to appreciate a lot of the things it does, and you're going to see that this has massive potential. So I'm going to go to the instructions, and it says set your environment variable. Now, think of an environment variable or an API key as like a secret password. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this browser right here, and I'm just
It's good
going
practice to never show your API keys.
yeah, you never want to show your API keys. So just as an example, where you would get it is you would go back to Explore, click on API keys, and just click Add Key. I'm just going to quickly add it.
And just to elaborate what you said with the flow, right? That's why I think a lot of people get stuck is they don't break it down into the steps. They see like a huge task like build an MVP, minimal viable product. It's like they don't know what to do. Well, if you break it down into 7 smaller steps, it's much more manageable to just attack one step and get it done.
100%. And I think because I'm a developer, it helps. It's like you couldn't tell me, oh, build me this. And I just completely build the whole thing without getting it wrong or doing it in a way that I think is best. Like you're going to have to give me, okay, so this is the wireframes. This is how we want to do it, right? So if you treat it like a junior developer, I truly believe people's I don't want, for lack of a better term, relationships with the AI models will be fantastic. So I added my .env.local, and then let's go to the next step. I basically showed it. Okay, I'll just delete it. It's whatever. But let's go back to it was image to image, right? This one. Let's go back to API. And then the next step is submit request. So I'm just going to copy this right here. And I'm going to go to Bolt. I'm going to paste this. And then the above instruction looks like a great prompt to me. The client API handles the API submit protocol and basically tell me this is what handles the upscaling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this right above, and I'm going to tell it that this is how you use file.ai's API. I copied this from the docs. Please implement this. So again, trying to build it up step by step. So we got the page where I can upload the image. Now I found the API resource that I'll need to make this happen. So I give it that information, right? And then once that information is done, I want to work on the step where it gives me or displays the image, right? And whenever something breaks in between, I'll just start debugging. So it says it updated some stuff here. There's a potential problem detected, but we'll leave that for now. Let's see if it did anything. Let's refresh this.
So which LLM does Bolt use?
Bolt uses Claude. So I spoke with one of their team members, and they told me they use Sonnet, which, in my opinion, for programming, is one of the
Yeah.
best ones. Let me, instead of pulling up a family picture, let's just go to images. Or let's just go Google Images. And let's just say blurry 90s image. I don't know. Maybe this? All right, this looks like a cool image.
Yeah, that's like album cover material.
Yeah, it really is. This is actually fire. But okay, so I have this image. Let's see if this app even works. Click on upscale. It error.
Boom.
So it says API error. I'm not sure what this error is. I'm just going to copy this. Be like, please fix this error. I already have an idea what the error could be, but I'm just going to let the AI model fix it just so people can see.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a developer, you can fix this yourself, right? And this is why, in my opinion, I know a lot of developers are scared of these models. These models excite me because, like, I can get a lot of the mundane tasks done, and for stuff like this, I could quickly fix it myself, right? I have no problem. 30 seconds, boom, I'm done, right? So, in my opinion, my shipping time has increased. And this is why, if you're a developer, what a time to be alive. If you're not a developer, what a time to be alive. Let's try this again. Error again. So it says API error. Let's see what this original error is. Let's click fix problem.
So what would you say are like the biggest differences in terms of people who don't think like developers and those who do?
Yeah, I think if you obviously don't have like a technical background, it's a hard thing to say, oh, you should have a developer mind. I think the way it gets formed is maybe watching videos around development, right? Maybe even learning basic programming, right? I'm not saying you should learn programming so you can learn how to write code, but Harvard has an amazing free course called CS50 where it's like an introductory computer science class, but it will teach you how to think in algorithms in as a developer mindset. That's number one. Number two is just playing with the models, seeing it break again and again and again. Actually, one thing I'll do before is add loading state so I can see the progress. So basically what I'm telling it is when I click upscale, instead of not showing me anything and maybe it's working in the background, I can see some progress being made. So that can also help me debug the situation. So let's do that.
By the way, in terms of the tools, like what do you say are the biggest differences between Bolt and Cursor?
Yeah, so Cursor will be a lot more painful if you're not a developer, right? Cursor is great for developers or even like maybe a junior developer or whatever. If you know the basics of code, you will cook with Cursor. If you're someone who's never coded before, but you want to build like an MVP and stuff like that, I would highly recommend Bolt. And to give you an example, I switched over to Cursor from VS Code maybe 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure when my first video on Cursor was. And I haven't went back. I have not went back. And it's amazingly good. I find the best results when I plug it in with the Sonnet, with the Claude Sonnet API. So I have Cursor and then I have Claude. And as a developer, workflow has increased, right? And especially if you're someone who might be working, there might be some repetitive things that you do. Cursor's great with, like, you do it once and you tell, okay, repeat it 6 times, here, or create these number of pages. Once it kind of gets a context of how you work and what you're doing, it's fantastic.
Do you ever use like O1 preview to write out the plan and then use that with Claude or Cursor?
So for my personal stuff, no, because I write the plan myself. But if I were someone who getting started, I would. Now, here's the thing with Claude, the only downside I would say with Claude is you have to, like if you're using Next.js in particular, you have to tell it to use the latest best practices.
And in terms of the stack, let's say somebody watching this wants to build a small SaaS, right? Something to get a few $1,000s. Would you use Next.js, like React, or would you use like Python, Flask?
So I would use, depending on the type of application, I think most people's MVP can be fully developed on Next.js. And the reason why is Next.js allows you to have both your front end and your back end, right? With
Yeah.
React, you just have your front end. With Python, you can have a front end too, but they're really, really ugly, in my opinion. So I think Next.js is great for MVPs, POCs, even full-fledged SaaS, right? I had a startup in 2023 that had over 150,000 unique users that was fully built on Next.js. We're talking front end and back end. So it's scalable, it's productive. Now, if you are like, let's say you've built your MVP and then you want to build a more specialized type of solution, at that point you'd probably hire a developer who's specialized, et cetera, et cetera. But I think you can get a few $1,000s with some grit, a great MVP using AI and marketing, right? You just got to have the
Yeah.
chops for it. I think that doesn't change. You can have all these tools. If you don't have the grit for it, like, look how many prompts it's taking us to make this work. It might not be the funnest thing to do, but it has to get done, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you quit after like 2 or 3 errors, then good luck. I mean, we
Yeah.
can try replicate if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, we'll use this one. And let's see. HTTP, JSON, Node.js. Okay, so we're going to tell cursor. This is actually
Okay, I sent you my API key.
perfect. Let's make the swap. Okay, so now we're going to copy this. So we blamed Bolt, but really it was probably
It's pretty crazy.
yeah. The life of if someone wants to build something, right? Open the
Yeah.
browser and copy replicate token. Okay, so let me paste this here. Okay, so that worked. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this package, and then I'm going to add the API token. I'm just going to hide this here because this is yours, and I know if your
I'm gonna
audience,
delete it, no worries.
okay, because I know there's probably that one person that'll spam it.
Yeah, actually, guys, feel free to use it.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all this, right? And I'm going to say file didn't work because of its own problems. We are switching over to replicate. Here is the code from their docs. Use this, please. Paste this here. And then let's see. Wow, did Fal really just pick the best day to not work? Let me just close this.
I mean, we uploaded manually and it still
Yeah,
didn't work.
so that's definitely not on us. But I'm glad that happened, because for anyone watching, this is part of the game. Like, something doesn't work, you're going to have to research. I'm going to hit accept. Okay, so let's see if this one shot works. Let me npm run dev. Let me refresh my page. And let's paste this. Failed to, please try again. Why did it fail? Let's see. Prediction failed. Image dimensions has a total of, I think the image I use is pretty high quality. So I need to find a very low scale image, right?
Old blurry image, something like
Old
that.
blurry
Images,
image.
smartphone.
Okay, maybe this.
Yeah, that should work.
Okay, let me turn this image to URL, and then okay. All right, so we have this image here. Now let's, where's our page? So many tabs. Upscale image. It worked. Let's compare, let's do a comparison.
I think for this, because this is very bad, we might need to restore model instead of.
Image. But you know what? I mean, you could tell a difference, even though this is a really bad image. Let's find another one.
No. I think we can swap the model. Like if we
Oh,
swap
the
to
model
a
is
restore.
bad?
No, the
Okay.
model is for upscaling. So it's like for good images. I send you the link in chat. Try this one. It's for restoration. So
Oh,
like there are different type of models. If the quality is bad, it's better to use like restoration models than upscalers.
makes sense. Let's go API, and I'm just going to tell cursor, actually swap the model with this one. I'm going to hit reject on this one and hit enter. Um, a point I will make is it helps to have friends who know stuff. So I didn't know about this model that makes images nice, but David's my friend and David told me about it, and now I'm going to use it. So it really helps like in this space to not be a loner. So
Oh yeah.
if there are communities, whatever it is, join them because it's hard to do this alone. Like really, really hard to do this alone. And shout out to David for showing me that. Let's see. Okay, it's made a change. Let's accept this. I'm going to copy this image URL, hit refresh. We'll change the name to upscaler to restorer. Would you
There
look
it
at
is.
that? And now, David, I don't know if you want to summarize this, but we had issues with Bolt, and then we
Yeah.
had issues with Foul, and then we used Replicate, and it worked. And like, I know the video's probably super long and needs to be edited, but I really hope people understand that it's not easy. If anyone who sold it to you that it's easy, it's not, but it's doable. It's finally doable. You, with very minimal technical knowledge, can start to learn, build, and get to some place. So the tools are there, the information is there. You have great channels like
Yeah.
David's channel. It's
And
just
your
about
channel.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's just about grit. Like you just have to push through. Like even for myself and David, we didn't think it was gonna take this long. I honestly
Yeah.
thought it was gonna be quick,
I
right?
mean, I had no idea it was fall, right? Like that was my last resort.
Yeah, because I thought like I honestly was going to open a new tab on my computer and look at the code. Because be like, what's going on? But it looked good to me. So like this is just part of the game, right? And there are a ton of communities out there. If you get stuck, you can share like what your problem is, what your issue is, and someone can point it out to you. And yeah, I hope people learn from the highs and the lows of this video.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's good. It's a much more realistic view into what it actually takes. And sometimes you have to try different tools, different API providers, and check whether their servers are up. Like it's not as simple. Never works on the first try. If it does, then be suspicious because you might have just gotten very, very lucky.
100%. And like now that like my main functionality is good, I can go to cursor and I can be like make my landing page that also is the main functionality of the app look very nice, and add some random name and copy,
And would
right?
you
So
ever go back here to V0 and like design afterwards
One
or no?
hundred percent. Like if I wanted to be very fancy dancy, I'd go to V0. If anything, I would even go further and find a site that I like. And if you guys remember the first point I shared, screenshot
Yeah, yeah.
what components you like, paste it in V0, and you can get it down looking really, really good. And I'll share a tip for people who are really, really serious. Design matters. If you make
Yes.
people go on your site and it feels nice and it feels high quality, it feels classy, people will more likely use your app. Like for example, and
I mean, I think the best example is ChatGPT. Like, GPT 3.5 was released in 2020, 2 years before ChatGPT released, right? So the first release didn't have GPT-4. It was just GPT 3.5 with a nice UI. So if people don't think UI matters, you're completely wrong.
100%. Like for example, Next.js, the framework I use, I'll be honest, the first time I saw it and the reason why I got into it is because their website was so nice. Like if you like they're having a conference in October, and I'll just show you like just like the details that matter. So Like the fact that that card is here, it's springy. Like
Yeah,
these
crazy.
small little things matter. So once you have your functionality down, with V0 and all these other tools, I would really spend time to make the app, your app, look great. So let's save this. Let's refresh this. Did it do anything? Oh, look at that.
Oh, damn.
Again, just something simple. So if I can find where's my image URL? Let me just get that. I go on this side, I upload this, enhance image, and even change the copy there. And then I can
Then,
even tell
we
it,
could
hey,
add like a loading bar. We could add
yeah,
like a
that's what I'm saying.
background wave animation.
There's so much you could do, right? And this looks already much better than what I had earlier. Imagine 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, maybe even 20 prompts in, how clean you can make this look. And I'll take this to an extent where I do contract work on the side, and I worked with one really, really big company to build an internal tool for them. And if I told you that the entire front end was written in V0, would you believe me? Entire
Yeah.
front. I prompted, I think I went 34 prompts telling it
Wow.
exactly, make this rounder, make this more blue. I don't like how this looks. Make the
Crazy.
animation bouncy. When I hover over it, make it like shine and stuff like that. 34 prompts in, I went in there, and then because it was a legitimate company, like a big company, I obviously had to build the functionality myself because there was security stuff that I had to be careful of. I built the functionality myself, which I enjoyed. But all the front end, V0 took care of for me.
Amazing. So just, with the combination of the right tools, people can build essentially anything.
Yep, it's really a great time to be alive. I really think, like that meme of like the father and the son, and the son's like, how did we have all this, dad? And he's like, oh, dad, and the dad's like, oh, I when these tools were out, I hunkered down and I learned. I think we're in that time where, like, yes, the tools need to get better, but if, like you said, compared to GPT-2 to GPT-3 to 1.0, if you chart that growth and it's not a linear chart, you look at Claude and all these tools, just imagine where we'll be a year and 2 years from now. Imagine where you will be if you make the decision to learn now. And I'll share a personal story. 2022 is when I decided I want to take coding seriously. I took Harvard CS50 course. It was painful. I never in my life felt so stupid, right? Because the verbiage, the words that were used, I was like, it was embarrassing, it was painful. But I hunkered down, and just that 1, 2 year, 3 year of commitment I'm no millionaire by any shot, but I have the skills to build pretty much whatever I like. And that's a skill that's very, very important to a lot of businesses and people in general. And I think if you hunker down now, brother or sister, whoever is watching at this end, you can genuinely change your career, and I hope you do so.
With that being said, thank you, Mickey, for taking the time, and have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.